If you're an Indian and you're anywhere near concerned about the state of education in this country, then you've heard of Pratham. First of all, let me apologize for not being there in person. I was very much there in person 2 years ago when Pratham very kindly asked me to come and speak a few words about the cause to all prospective funders and people who have been long-term believers in Pratham and the work that Pratham does in America. It was wonderful to be there, and if it wasn't for the fact that I'm right now in the middle of shooting a film, I would have been there in a heartbeat. But now that I have your attention, let me spend 2 minutes talking about my experience as a Pratham supporter. I think the first time I heard of Pratham was way before I even began to get involved in the social sector. Because wherever you go, there's always a Pratham story that confronts you. A story of a child who spent 5 years learning how to read and write and still doesn't know how to read and write. A story of a child in a village who earlier was going into a classroom where there were no teachers, when teachers were supposed to be there, and how today there are. You must have heard the numbers by now. 20 million children being put through primary education in the biggest initiative of this kind in the history of the world. And I think that that is very impressive in itself. But for me, what's more impressive is the fact that the work that Pratham does has an invisible and in many ways visible multiplier effect. When it goes into a village and it transforms the way a certain village schools its children and the way education is taught in that village, automatically you will find a kind of a ripple effect happening through that taluka, through that district, into other schools, and you find the methodologies improving in other schools too. When you have an example of Pratham's intervention in an urban area, again, much to the pleasant surprise of teachers who are teaching these children after primary school, they find a higher level, a higher standard of children coming out of schools where Pratham has intervened, because for the first time children can actually understand what they're reading, and children can actually write with fluency. So automatically there is another kind of multiplier, invisible ripple effect in the urban areas. For me, those are the things that I thought I'd just spend 2 minutes talking to you about. So when you decide to give your money to what is one of the most financially transparent organizations you can give your money to, and to what is one of the hardest working organizations in a really tough sector that's doing work in India. When you give your money to an organization like this, you must bear in mind that aside from the 20 million children that you will directly affect, or just one, depending on how much you give, aside from that, you're going to actually be indirectly changing an ethos that desperately needs changing in this country. So I think that when they asked me 2 years ago to come across and speak, as I am on this occasion through video to you, speak live in a few places in America to raise funds, it was a no-brainer. Because I think that you don't even have to be an Indian to have to donate to this organization. You just have to be a human being who believes that the only way forward in evolving human beings with compassion, with wisdom, with gentleness, and with a certain breadth and texture and depth of imagination is through education. So if you believe, as I and millions of others do, that education is the only way forward for humanity in general, then open your hearts, open your wallets, open your pockets, and donate. This much I can assure you: the money that you donate to a non-profit organization like Pratham is never abused. It's a massive organization, but the work it does and the financial transparency with which it does this work is absolutely assured. And for me, when I have to give to any cause, my first question invariably is, where is this money going? Will I actually see this money being used in the way that it professes to be? And with Pratham, the answer is yes, yes, and yes. So give with love, give with compassion, and just give.